You know what most people do wrong? They keep chasing the finish line like it's gonna solve all their problems. They wake up every day thinking, when I hit that number, when I lose that weight, when I get that job, when I buy that house. And I'm like, you don't even understand. Success doesn't come from the finish line. The finish line is a moment, a snapshot. It's not where your life changes. Your life changes when you start building the track you're gonna run on every single day, no matter how you feel. See, the problem with chasing goals is that once you hit one, you slow down. You hit that number, you take your foot off the gas. You lose those 20 pounds, you start eating like you used to. You get that promotion, you stop learning, stop grinding. Why? Because the whole time, your mind was trained to get there, not to keep going. You were sprinting for the ribbon, not building the road. If you build a system, something you can run every day, rain or shine, you stop depending on motivation. Motivation is like the weather. One day is sunny, the next day is pouring, and if you only run when the sun's out, you're never gonna get far. Systems are like the track. They're always there. They don't care if you feel good or not. They don't care if it's Monday or Friday, if it's January 1st or July 14th. They don't even care if you're tired, you just get up and run it. Look, you could have the biggest dream in the world, but if you wake up every day with no structure, no routine, no repeatable process, you're gonna burn out before you even get close. That's why people quit after 2 weeks at the gym. That's why people start a business and give up in 6 months. They thought the dream was enough. They thought the vision alone would carry them. But dreams fade without a system to back them up. I'm telling you, you gotta stop thinking like a sprinter and start thinking like a train. A train runs because it's got tracks. It doesn't matter if the scenery is ugly or beautiful, it just keeps moving. Your system is the track. Without it, you're just drifting, stopping and starting, waiting for a motivation to show up like a bus that's always late. When I say build the track, I'm talking about making the process your lifestyle. Not something you do when you feel inspired. Not something you do when it's New Year's or when somebody's watching. Something you do because it's who you are now. If you want to be a writer, don't set a goal to write a book. Set a system where you write every morning from 6 to 7 a.m., no matter what. If you want to get fit, don't just say, I'm going to lose 30 pounds. Create a system where you hit the gym 4 days a week, no matter the season, no matter the excuse. Because here's what happens. When you focus on the track, the finish line starts showing up without you even chasing them. You stop thinking about it getting there and start living it there every day. The weight comes off because your system is unshakable. The business grows because your process is consistent. The confidence shows up because you're stacking wins every single day. Too many of you are waiting for that magic moment to start. You're thinking, when I get my schedule right, when I get the money, when I feel ready. Let me break it to you. You will never feel perfectly ready. You will never have the perfect moment. That's why you need the system now. Because once it's in place, it doesn't need your permission to work. And here's the real game. Once you've built that track, you don't have to rely on discipline in the same way. It becomes who you are. It's harder to stop than to keep going. Think about that. Imagine a life where quitting feels unnatural, where missing a day feels weird, where your habits are so locked in that success is just a side effect. That's the power of a system. So stop obsessing over the finish line. The finish line will take care of itself if you lay the track right. Stop chasing moments. Start building movements. Stop making promises to yourself that end in 30 days. Start creating processes that you can run for the next 30 years. The moment you stop waiting for motivation, the moment you stop chasing that single goal and start designing the daily actions that guarantee progress, that's the moment you take control. You don't win because you hit one target. You win because you built the machine that keeps hitting targets over and over again. Build the track, and the train will take you farther than you ever imagined. If you want, I can now move to key point 2 and give it the same 1,000 word, no break, speech style treatment so the flow feels continuous. That way, we're basically assembling your full talk piece by piece. Most people keep chasing outcome like they're trying to win a lottery ticket. They want the result without becoming the person who can keep it. That's why you see people get success and then lose it. They win once, but they can't win again because they never changed who they were. They just hit a goal one time. If you want to change your life, you've got to stop obsessing over the outcome and start working on your identity. You've got to become the kind of person who wins by default. See, here's the truth. Nobody wants to talk about you don't get what you want. You get what you are. If your habits, your discipline, your mindset are at a level 5, but your goal is at a level 10, you're never gonna see it. Or if you do see it, you won't keep it because you're not built to hold it yet. That's why so many people get money and lose it, get in shape and fall off, get an opportunity and blow it. The outcome doesn't matter if the identity doesn't match. You can't say, I want to run a marathon and then live like someone who hates running. You can't say, I want to be financially free and then keep spending money like you're broke. You can't say, I want to be a leader and then wait for someone else to tell you what to do. That's why systems matter, because systems don't just produce results. They shape you into the person who can produce those results over and over again. When you start building a system, you're actually training your identity. Every day you show up, you're casting a vote for who you are. You're saying, this is me now. And over time, that becomes your truth. You're not trying to force it anymore. It's just what you do. You don't have to push yourself to go to the gym because you're the type of person who trains. You don't have to hype yourself up to work on your craft because you're the type of person who creates. That's when winning gets dangerous in a good way. Because when your identity lines up with the results you want, you don't even have to think about it. You don't have to get motivated. You don't have to set 100 reminders. You move different. You think different. You talk different. People can see it on you before you even open your mouth. And let me tell you something. You can fake a goal, but you can't fake an identity. You can say, I'm going to write a book and never write a page. You can say, I'm going to start a business and never register the name. But when you truly see yourself as a writer, you write. When you see yourself as an entrepreneur, you build. The actions match the identity. That's the real reason why focusing on becoming is more powerful than focusing on getting. Too many of you are trying to borrow discipline for a season instead of owning it for a lifetime. You'll grind hard for 6 weeks, but the whole time you're telling yourself, I just have to get through this until the goal is done. That's backwards. You should be building something you can run forever. You should be building habits and mindsets that will serve you long after the trophy, long after the applause, long after the world stops watching. And here's the part that's going to hit you. When you work on your identity, the goals stop being these huge mountains you have to climb. They become checkpoints. Because when you're the right person, the results aren't random, they're inevitable. A champion doesn't wonder if they'll win again. They expect it, not out of arrogance, but because their system, their work ethic, their daily choices guarantee it. Think about it. If you only aim for a goal, you might hit it once. But if you become the kind of person who operates at that level, you'll hit it over and over without even realizing it. That's why this is so much bigger than one achievement. This is about transformation, not just accomplishment. I know some of you are thinking, that sounds great, but how do I change who I am? You change who you are by changing what you do consistently. Not once, not when you feel like it. Every single day, you start aligning your habits with the person you want to be, not the person you've been. And yes, it's uncomfortable at first because you're breaking old patterns. You're replacing old stories you've been telling yourself for years. But that's how you grow. You don't grow by staying comfortable. You grow by living in the space where your actions are just a little ahead of your comfort zone until that zone expands. Stop saying, when I get the result, I'll act like that. No. Act like that now, and the result will come. Stop saying, when I'm successful, I'll be disciplined. Be disciplined now, and success will follow you around like a shadow. Stop waiting to have before you be. Be first, then have. When you understand this, you stop seeing goals as these magic keys to happiness. You realize the real prize is becoming the person who doesn't need to chase anymore because they live in alignment with the life they want. The goal might get you started, but the system and the identity it builds will keep you going long after the excitement wears off. Become the kind of person who wins by default, and you'll never have to wonder if you'll win again. If you want, I can go right into key point 3, so your speech flows without breaking momentum. That's when the full energy really locks in. Here's your expanded key point 3 in the same powerful, seamless style, so it connects perfectly with the first 2 points. When you think about a strong system, I don't want you to picture just one habit you try to force yourself to do every day. That's not enough. One habit on its own is like one gear. It might spin, but it's not moving the whole machine. What you want is a set of habits that lock together like gears in a well-oiled engine, each one feeding into the other so momentum builds automatically. When that happens, success stops feeling like this uphill grind and starts feeling like something you can't turn off. Most people build their habits in isolation. They try to eat better, but they don't fix their sleep. They try to work harder, but they don't manage their time. They try to save money, but they don't track their spending. And because those habits don't connect, they're constantly losing momentum. They fix one thing, but another thing falls apart. It's like bailing water out of a boat without patching the hole. You're working hard, but you're not going anywhere. When you build a system of habits that work together, it's a whole different game. You stop relying on sheer willpower because the habits feed each other. You sleep better so you have more energy to work out. You work out so you have more focus at work. You manage your time better so you have the mental space to think clearly about your goals. Now everything is connected and each win fuels the next. The beauty of stacking habits like this is that you're not starting from zero every morning. If you only have one habit, missing it feels like failure. But when you've got 5 or 6 small but powerful habits working together, missing one doesn't stop the machine. It just slows it for a moment. The others keep pulling you forward. That's why people with strong systems don't crash the way goal chasers do. If one piece gets shaky, the rest of the system holds them up until they can get back on track. Think about it like this. When you get in your car, you don't just turn on the engine and expect it to move by itself. The engine turns the gears turn the wheels grip the road, and suddenly you're moving. That's how your life should work. You don't just set one habit and hope for the best. You connect your actions so they create movement without you having to constantly push. Here's the part most people miss. Stacking habits isn't about adding random actions to your day. It's about finding the habits that matter most to your future and connecting them in a way that makes failure harder than success. If you keep your gym bag by the door, it's harder to skip your workout. If you meal prep on Sundays, it's harder to eat junk during the week. If you plan your day the night before, it's harder to waste time when you wake up. You design your environment so that your habits line up like dominoes, and all you have to do is knock over the first one. Wow. And let me tell you, when those gears start turning together, momentum does something crazy. It compounds. Small wins start stacking faster than you expect. You might start drinking more water, and suddenly your skin's clearer, your energy's better, your mood's more stable. You might start journaling every morning, and it sharpens your thinking, reduces your stress, and improves your decision-making. None of those things happen in isolation. They multiply when they work together. But you gotta be intentional. You can't just wait for good habits to show up. You build them, you plan them, you make them so connected to your day that they're automatic. If you leave it to chance, chance will choose comfort, and comfort will kill your progress. And here's the kicker. You don't even have to start big. You don't need 10 new habits at once. Start with 2 that feed each other. Maybe it's reading before bed instead of scrolling your phone, so you sleep better and learn something at the same time. Maybe it's a morning workout and a healthy breakfast. Build that connection until it's automatic. Then add another gear, then another. Before you know it, you've built a machine that runs whether you feel motivated or not. When you've got that, you're not forcing change anymore. You're living it. The effort you used to spend trying to get motivated is now spent moving forward because your habits do the heavy lifting. And here's the best part. When other people are burning out, you're just getting warmed up because they've been running on willpower and you've been running on momentum. They're pushing the car up the hill and you're driving a train that's running on tracks you built yourself. This is how you make progress inevitable. You don't just create habits. You connect them. You make them so interlinked. That breaking one feels like breaking the whole chain, and keeping one makes it easier to keep them all. That's when you stop being a person who tries and start being a person who just does. That's when your life starts moving in one clear direction every single day. Stack your habits like gears, and you'll build a machine that success can't help but follow. If you want, I can dive right into key point 4 so your speech feels like one continuous, high-energy message without gaps. That way the close will land even harder. Here's your expanded key point 4 written in the same flowing, high-energy speech style so it connects perfectly with the rest of your talk. One of the biggest mistakes people make when they're trying to change their life is that they only measure success by the big result. They look at the scoreboard, not the practice. They obsess over the outcome and forget the process that creates it. And that's why they get discouraged. They work hard for 2 weeks. Don't see the number on the scale move. Don't see the bank account change. Don't see the recognition they were hoping for. And they quit. They quit because they think the result is the only sign that they're winning. But if you want to win long term, you've got to flip that thinking. You've got to measure the inputs, the stuff you control every single day, not just the outcomes, which are sometimes out of your hands. You can't control the exact day a client says yes. You can't control exactly when the promotion comes. You can't control exactly how fast the scale drops. But you can control what time you wake up. You can control how many calls you make. You can control whether or not you follow your system today. That's the difference between people who win once and people who keep winning. The people who keep winning fall in love with the process. They get addicted to doing the work, not just to seeing the reward. The results become a side effect of who they are and what they do every day. When you measure inputs, you're taking the power back. Because now your success isn't determined by something outside of you. It's determined by whether or not you showed up and executed. If you run your system every day, you're winning even before the big breakthrough shows up. That's what keeps you in the game long enough for the big win to happen. You got to think like a farmer. A farmer doesn't plant seeds and then dig them up every morning to see if they've grown yet. A farmer plants, waters, weeds, and trusts the process. They know if they keep showing up, the harvest will come. But too many of you plant a seed, look at it for 3 days and say, it's not working. So you stop watering. You stop taking care of it, and then you wonder why nothing grew. When you measure the inputs, you know you're doing your part. You know the harvest is coming, even if you can't see it yet. That's how you keep going the days when it feels like nothing's happening, because you trust the system and you trust yourself to work it. And here's something I've learned. The result you want usually shows up after a lot of invisible wins. You don't see the strength building when you're lifting every day, but it's happening. You don't see the compound effect of making 5 calls every morning, but it's stacking. You don't see the connections you're building by showing up consistently, but they're forming. And then one day the dam breaks and everybody else says, wow, that happened overnight, but you know it didn't. You know it came from all those days you measured the inputs and kept going when there was nothing to show for it yet. That's why you've got to fall in love with the process. If you only love the outcome, you're going to be miserable most of the time because outcomes take time. But if you love the process, you can win every single day. You can end each day saying, I did my part today. I moved forward today. That's a different kind of confidence. That's the kind of confidence that's built on proof, not just hope. And when you operate like that, you stop being desperate for results. You stop chasing every shortcut, every hack, every shiny distraction because you know your system works. You're not impatient because you understand progress is inevitable when you do the right work consistently. Now, I'm not saying don't track your results. You should. But the scoreboard isn't the only thing that matters. The scoreboard is there to confirm what you already know from your work. If you're showing up every day, running your system, stacking those habits, becoming the kind of person who wins, the scoreboard will catch up. And when it does, it won't be a surprise. It'll be the natural outcome of the life you've been living. That's the beauty of this whole thing. When you fall in love with the process and measure the inputs, you're already successful before the world ever sees it. You're not waiting for permission to feel like a winner. You know you're winning because you're living it every day. And that's the kind of success nobody can take away from you. If you focus on the inputs and run your system with relentless consistency, the results will not only come, they'll keep coming.